I love that new feature.
Me too. I'm here with Reverend Dr. Lil Smith, and Lil is one of the co-founders of the Retreat House community in Richardson, Texas. She is also one of the acting directors of the house. Lil's a trained spiritual director and supervisor. So we've gathered here today to really learn a bit more and gather some information on spiritual direction supervision. So thank you for being here today, Lil. It's good to
It's
see
very
you.
good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So first question out of the bag, what is spiritual direction supervision?
Yes. I think a very simple way to look at it is it's professional development for spiritual directors. As we tend the space around us, meaning we're doing our work as spiritual directors, we're tending the interior movements within us. And so, supervision is about a trained spiritual director that has more time in the chair and has been through a supervision training program, sitting with a spiritual director to tend these interior movements that are happening. And they are things like our habits popping up into our awareness when we're not expecting them, blind spots that we don't see that it's helpful for someone else to bring into our awareness. Other things like transference and countertransference that would be difficult for us to know on our own. There's just a lingering feeling after a session with a directee that I think, I want to look into that a little bit more. Um, there are a couple of different definitions. One that is given is that it is tending space for the absent other. And so the invitation here is that the work that we are doing in supervision as spiritual directors is a benefit to the absent other, the directee, because we can be more present in our awareness and our space when we're with someone when we tend these things that pop up into our awareness. Um, it also is a gift to understand that the absent other is an important part of the relationship. If we didn't have that time with a directee in a chair, we wouldn't be talking about something in supervision. So it's very relational, but it's not focused on the process. It's focused on the interior movement of the director.
So the word that's coming up for me is accountability. It's a way for
Sure.
uh, someone who's serving as a spiritual director to come together with peers to share and be, I guess, provide even more witness to the absent other.
Yes.
And so it's almost an extension of the ministry of spiritual direction,
Yes.
which
Um, it,
leads me, yes, go ahead.
No, that's fine. It is. It's very contemplative. It is just as direction is contemplative, supervision is the same. Supervisor is not going to tell you process and a way to do it when looking at what is brought for supervision. There is, however, a time of consultation that can be a how to phase or a teaching phase or a suggestion for books or readings or other things like that to learn more about a particular skill, a particular skill set that is wanted in a growing edge.
So is group or not group, is supervision different than group spiritual direction? Are there some, I'm just from as a participant in both, I know that there's some overlap. Would you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So there can be individual supervision or there can be group supervision. Um, it is recommended that in group supervision that there be a trained facilitator, someone who is has authority over the group to help keep the group together. That way, it doesn't just turn into um, just a spiritual companion group. There's nothing wrong with a spiritual companion group. It's wonderful to have um, witness partners to share Holy Mystery with one another. Um, but supervision is really about discovering something new that I need to learn about myself and why particular topics are bubbling up in me. It can be done in group by a trained supervisor with others in the on the call or in the room offering what they observe, or it could actually be more of a clearness committee where each person speaks with the supervisee one on one on the topic, and then the facilitator is holding space for all of that. The supervisor is holding space.
So, as a spiritual director, and speaking to others who are going to watch this, who are in this ministry, just tactically speaking, from a keeping healthy and kind of like a maintenance standpoint, what's the timeline or what's the expectation as far as how often should we tend to ourselves in this way?
Right. So it is one of the ethical guidelines offered by Spiritual Directors International that spiritual directors are in spiritual direction and supervision, possibly therapy for a relationship with a counselor. And all of this is leading us, is growing us into a more healthy person. And the language that is used there is regular direction and regular supervision. So my interpretation of regular for spiritual direction is monthly. Supervision, it somewhat depends on how many directees that you're working with. If you're working with 2 to 4 directees, I would say quarterly supervision is likely okay for individual supervision. Most groups meet monthly. Um, but if you're meeting with 10 plus directees, monthly is something that should be on your radar.
So let's talk about Retreat House in the context of spiritual direction supervision. What resources does Retreat House offer?
We have individual supervisors and group supervision. Right now, we have groups meeting Monday during the day, Monday evening, Tuesday morning, and Wednesday evening and Thursday evening. We're open to groups beginning at any time. We ask that 3 gather, and when 3 gather, a supervisor is willing to take on that group. We ask over a 6-month period of time, it's $100 per supervisee. So it works out to be about like $18 a session by the time you do it. And we ask that you can commit to 5 of the 6 sessions before you sign up for a group. Hopefully, it's a group you stay with long term, and then it becomes a close knit accountability group. And there are other group, Heart Pass has supervision training also, and theirs works more on the school year, kind of a September through May. And they have a similar program down the street at Community Christian, so really close by.
So is there anything that you would like to say to folks watching about this ministry and any sort of encouragement or feel that you have when after you leave as a supervision session as a recipient of supervision?
I always learn something about myself in supervision. The benefit for me is seeing the different topics that emerge in different sessions, which I could never experience on my own. I could never sit with that many directees. And so what I'm learning is how my body and how my thoughts are going to react when this unexpected thing happens. And so I then know what I need to take to my spiritual director to say, well, we're sitting there and this came up and I'm not really sure what to do with that. So then I know where I have some work to do. And I see it as a real gift.